our world, especially in 2020, with a pandemic, shaky economy, human rights violations, and riots. What might be coming next, and why is it all happening? Leo Knighton Tallarico, a longtime professional astrologer, will show us the planetary movements behind all this transformation. Is it possible extraterrestrial beings are a part of all this? Sit back and enjoy the ride as Leo takes us on a journey into the cosmos, showing us humanity's movement into the Age of Aquarius, which will unite us all, even in the face of our world's challenges. And now, Perspectives from the Sky with Leo.
Hi everyone, Leo Knighton Tallarico. Another edition of Perspectives from the Sky on this 19th day of February 2022. And wow, things have been stirring in our world, just as we had anticipated. I've been letting everybody know. We'll get into that soon. I want to also mention today, we are going to have two wonderful guests, who are going to tell us more about what's going on in the skies that are not originating from Earth. Dr. Holly Bean will be here, and Julie Powers, RN, will be here, probably about halfway through the show. But first, let's talk about what's going on in the world. First of all, today is the first USA Pluto return. What that means is that where the planet Pluto was on July 4th, 1776, it's come back to that same exact spot, 27 plus degrees of Capricorn. That's almost 250 years. So each of you, fellow humans, I'm assuming is who I'm talking to today, you will never have a Pluto return unless you live to be almost 250 years old. Compare that with solar returns. Every year at your birthday, around your birthday, there's a solar return. So the sun comes back to exactly where it was the day you were born. The moon, every 28 and a half days, has a return. Mars, about every 2 years. Venus, about a year and a half. Jupiter, 12 years. Uranus, 84 years. Neptune, 165. Pluto, almost 250. So this is the very first Pluto return. What's so big about it? Well, we've been talking about it for quite a while, about how important this Pluto return would be, because Pluto return symbolically in the United States chart is the military-industrial complex. It's the economy, the giant economy, and it's the giant military in what has become the fuel for the empire that's been built. So with the Pluto return, there are challenges to that military-industrial complex. And that was one of the reasons why I knew that we'd have big shakeups as far as the military, like Putin and Russia on the verge of invading Ukraine, the economy, the stock market, certainly not since 2007, 8, and 9 have I seen it going so low, falling so fast. So that's the military-industrial complex, those two areas. And you can see the shakeup that's happening. We're going to discuss today what that means, give some timing to it all, and take a look at the bigger picture. Looking at the bigger picture right away, and we've talked about this many times before, every show actually, and that's that we are moving, or we already have moved technically, from the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius. That happened, from my estimations, winter solstice 2020. That was the beginning of the Age of Aquarius. That happened right after the election that year. Now, other people see these changes. They don't call it Age of Aquarius. They call it New Earth. And the people who are the New Earth people say that the New Earth was in July 2020. So we have two different paradigms saying the New World began in 2020. And in 2020, we know that the pandemic, or whatever they're calling it now, began in 2020. So the shift is on. Now, here's the part. Moving into the Age of Aquarius isn't like the song in the 70s where everybody's yelling and screaming, it's wonderful, yay, we're in this new age. Well, that's what it's becoming. That's what it will become. But the process to get there is not always pretty. That's why we've got an economy that's moving the way it is. And we've got the war that's getting closer and closer. Because the old system, the old paradigm, and the people that run that paradigm in that world are not just going to say, okay, new age, let's go. They've got power, they've got privilege. It's not going to happen that easily. So we're in for a ride. And we've already begun the ride, but the ride is really going to intensify. So just be ready for that. The most important thing is what you're doing with your consciousness, what you're doing inside your soul and your heart and your mind. If you hang on to that old paradigm, and a lot of what that old paradigm is dog eat dog, making enemies, being greedy, taking as much for yourself as you can without any regard for anyone else. That's the old world. That's the old paradigm. The new world sees connections. Not everybody separate, not everything separate, not everything random, not everything just made up, not everything contrived, but everything connected. Everything connected. All the opposites on a deeper level are connected. And the universe is run by love and truth. Now, when you take a look at our world, you go, what? Well, you know something, we humans decided that we're bigger than that universe in some cases, haven't we? And we're not. That's a joke. The universe and nature are greater than we are. And a lot of the toxicity we've caused in our world, including nuclear weapons, climate change, can be directly seen as a result of us pushing against and around nature and the universe and deciding that we're going to have it the way we want it without regard to that which is greater than us. And trust me, we are not the greatest element in the universe. We are a part of the universe. And today, a little later on, when we talk to Dr. Bean and Julie Powers, we're going to take a look at that which is beyond the earth. And remember, the universe is not just the earth. The universe is vast. Who could really believe that we are the only living beings in the vastness of this universe? Who could possibly, how self-centered is that? How self-centered can we be as a human family here on earth to think that there's no one out there besides us? Oh my God. Unbelievable. And we're going to find out more about that today. We're going to find out more about that which is beyond this earth today from our two guests that'll be on before too long. So right now, well, no, let me talk just a little bit about the changing of ages, because it's important. But remember, the important part of the changing of ages is the changing of consciousness. And remember, 2020, winter solstice 2020 is when the new age began, the new Aquarius age began. But the cusp of it began, in my estimation, in 1781. And the reason I say that is because in 1781, a planet was discovered that was outside of the box that we had been looking at planets from, which Saturn was the furthest one out for centuries. And so Saturn was given the most power. And Saturn is like a patriarchal kind of energy. I'm not trying to give Saturn a bad name. That's what that's what we allowed it to become, was a patriarchal energy. And maybe it was necessary at the time. Everything happens bigger picture for a reason. But the point is, patriarchy is dying. It's not meant to be here anymore. And in 1781, we got our first clue that we're moving beyond that old age and that patriarchy and that old paradigm. When Uranus was discovered, 1781, what was going on in 1781? The American Revolution and the French Revolution. And they tell us what the new age was going to be. The United States was born in 1776 with the moon in Aquarius. And the revolution that became a part of making this United States can be seen in the documents that we have as a foundation for the country. Age of Aquarius is about we the people, of the people, by the people, for the people. We may not be there now, but that's the values that we started out with. We've become an empire, and we've let greed, in my estimation, be more important, or fame and wealth be more important than those sacred values that we started this country with. Liberty is another one. Of the people, by the people, for the people, liberty, and diversity within unity. This one's so important because in the old paradigm, unity is you come over to my side and all of us are going to be just the way I want us to be. I want you all to be like me. And that's how we create unity. And individuality is created by I'm going to do what I want, when I want to do it, and nobody's going to tell me what to do. That's the polarization. True diversity is everybody's different. Each individual, each country, each culture, each sexual orientation, all of it's different. And yet we accept the differences. And from those differences, we create and become part of unity. Not everybody the same. And not everybody's saying, I'm going to do what I want to do, like a teenager says, but everybody coming together with our differences into unity. And this paradigm is not only a part of the world, but it's going to become a part of what our families are like. Because how many of us have been brought up in families that say, I don't like the way you're acting. You're not acting like this family's way of acting is. And so with families too, it's like everybody's different. We love and respect you for who you are. And we create unity of this family at the same time. This is the new age. This is the new world. So Uranus in 1781 was the cusp of that new age. It's like Uranus was an ambassador planet for the new age, letting us know what the Aquarian age was going to be just a couple hundred years later. Then Neptune was discovered in 1846 and Pluto in 1930. And the three of them together are the harbingers of the new age. And what do they try to do? Break us out of the consciousness from the old paradigm and the old age and help us to bring in the new consciousness for the new age. And so when you have issues in your life with the job's not working, the marriage is not working, something's not working in your life, and it feels horrible, what's going to happen? You likely have Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto in your chart, moving through your chart. And what they want you to do is let go of the old paradigm, the old way of looking at yourself and looking at life so that you can become the new you. But the new you is not really a new you. It's actually the essence of who you really are. And the experiences in life take us out of who we really are sometimes and toxify our system and our minds and our hearts and souls. So a lot of times when these transits come from these outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, what they're doing for us is bringing us back to the truth and the authenticity of who we are. Once a lot of the toxicity and the programming have been cleared out, we then are who we are meant to be on this planet. And then from that place, each of us contributes through this new consciousness to this new world and new age. That's the bigger picture. That's the good news. Now let's get to the nitty gritty of what's happening on the earth now. So we know that Vladimir Putin is looking to move into Ukraine, and believe me, he's going to move into Ukraine. It's just a matter of playing this chess game to pick out the right time or to look for a good excuse or reason to come in, but he's going in. And that likely is going to start a much bigger war on the earth than just that. Second thing that's going on is the economy, the stock market. You can look at the stock market. It's going to continue. It's going to have sometimes it's going to go up a little bit, down, but the overall trajectory is going to be going down. So all those high prices on the homes and things like that, they're going to be coming down. So get ready for the bubble to burst, because that's going to be reality for us. And that sounds kind of scary at first. I understand that for all of us. But a lot of us are going to be liberated from the energies and the ways of being that have actually trapped us and made us feel like we are not free to live our lives according to who we really are and what we really believe in. So there's a liberation to all this that's going to be wonderful. Like I said, I can understand the fear, but it's also going to be a wonderful time too. I was alive during the 70s, and I can tell you it was a scary time at times. Everything was changing so fast. Vietnam War going on. Liberation of women, liberation of African Americans. And all of that got pretty violent at times too, on the race riots and things that were happening back then. But so much wonderful happened through that time. If you take a look at where African Americans and women were back then, and you look now, well, the job's not done. We've got a lot further to go, I understand. But quite a difference has happened from back then to now. And the next step as part of this new age is to go further. There is a wave of the greater feminine that's coming through this world now and through each of our consciousness. And it's an important wave. It's an important wave to bring the feminine way of being into each one of us in a greater way, and to bring it to our country and to our world. And that alone is going to change the world in a very positive way. So there's a lot of good things that are happening with all this, but some of it's going to feel a little bit scary. But remember, through all this change and transformation, there's going to be a lot of joy, a lot of opening our hearts to more love, more seeing the real truth to things instead of all that you see out there now. You can't even tell where the truth is. Everybody's like making up different things, and people get confused. Like, I can't trust my government. I can't. What's true? What's not true? Truth is going to be more clear, and each one of us is going to open up our hearts much more to love and to caring. And those things are going to be so much better that they're going to make all the other things not feel as horrendous as they appear to be on the surface. So good times to look forward to, but difficult, painful times at the same time. So let's take a look at, before we bring our guests on, which won't be too long from now, let's take a look at maybe some timing of things. So when do I think that Putin's going to invade Ukraine? I think next week. A lot of the aspects that I see tell me that probably Wednesday, Thursday next week is going to happen. If it doesn't, there's lots of other aspects coming up that are going to trigger him coming in anyway. But I think Wednesday, Thursday this week. And let me also add, besides the Pluto return, which is today, remember that Pluto return is today. It's quite a day, almost 250 years. All planets are direct now too. When Mercury went back direct a week or 10 days ago, all the planets are direct. What does that mean? That means it's time to take the ride. It's time to go with where the energies are taking us. All the planets are direct until April 29th. On April 29th, Pluto will go retrograde. And the next day, there'll be a solar eclipse at about 10 degrees of Taurus. That's going to be a powerful turning point around that time, because Pluto's a powerful planet, guardian of the underworld, the Scorpio planet. And the eclipse is a solar eclipse and a powerful eclipse at 10 degrees of Taurus, which triggers 10 degrees of fixed signs, which is a place in the zodiac right now where things happen because that number and that sign get triggered. So that'll be an important turning point. But even before we get there, in early March, Venus and Mars will be conjunct this Pluto that we're talking about. So especially the Mars part of that is going to trigger military-industrial complex issues. So that's early March. In fact, that's, early March. And then early April, Mars conjunct Saturn at about 22 degrees of Aquarius, and that's going to be a powerful turning point too, a trigger. Remember, the triggered places are 10 degrees of fixed signs, 28 degrees of fixed signs. What are the fixed signs? Taurus, Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio. So if you have planets that are around 10 degrees of those fixed signs or 28 degrees of those fixed signs, you'll be more affected than other people with the events that are coming up. And then 28 degrees of cardinal signs, Capricorn, cardinal sign. So is Aries. So is Cancer. So is Libra. So if you have any planets up at the end of those signs, then you'll also be in the ride in a strong way of transformation. Not to have fear. Remember, if you let go to the ride, everything happens well. If you're fighting like this, don't take me, then everything becomes more difficult. So that's some of the times that are coming up. And what will these times mean for each one of us? Positive change, being able to let go of that which we're clinging to that's no longer right for us. It doesn't have to be drastic. Like, you don't have to lose all your security in life. You don't have to lose all the things that keep you stable. But you let go, you start letting go more and more at each one of these turning points. Especially at the eclipses. That first eclipse, April 30th. Second eclipse, May 15th. Both of them are powerful. Both of them will be in the United States chart and many other countries' charts. And each one of us will be going through transformation, whether it falls in our chart or not, because it's happening to the whole world, our whole country, our whole world. So I'm starting to feel like it's time to bring on our guests to give us a viewpoint outside of all the things that are just happening on the earth. And let's see if there's anything beyond the earth that's speaking to us, which I know there is. Not too many years ago, I had a radio show, public radio show in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I started bringing on people that had experiences with UFOs and ETs. And one of my favorite guests was a man named Dr. John Mack. And he was the head of psychiatry at Harvard University. And somebody said to him, there's this phenomenon that's going on where people say that they've been abducted by aliens, by ETs. And he laughed. I'm a psychiatrist. I'm going to go out, interview these people, and I'm going to let you all know when I come back that they're all mentally ill. He went out, he interviewed people, not just in the United States, but all over the world. And he came back with a totally different story than what he thought he was going out to find. What he found was all the different people that had these experiences with the ETs had similar experiences, all very similar, same stories. Believe me, they didn't talk to each other. The person from China and the person from, Tennessee were not talking to each other. And so he came to the belief that it's very real what's happening with people. And he also came to believe when he talked to these people that the meaning of it was that the aliens, the ETs, were afraid for us here on Earth. And they wanted to talk to humans to tell them that we needed to make changes here on the Earth, like with climate change, nuclear weapons especially. And that if we don't make those changes, we're going to destroy ourselves. And so that was one of the reasons, big reasons for the abductions. Head of psychiatry. I think someday on the show I'm going to replay some of those so that you can hear what those interviews were like and what he had to say and how eloquent he was about it. So we have two more extremely credible people coming on today, and I think it's about time we bring them on. So I'm gonna. There you are. Hi.
Hi. Hi.
So on our left, on your left as you're looking, you'll see Dr. Holly Bean. And on the right, as you're looking at them, you'll see Julie Powers. And let's start with you, Julie. Tell our listeners, our viewers, what you do for a living.
I'm a nurse. I'm a mother and a daughter and a good person. I'm mentally and physically healthy, and I don't do drugs. I don't have any mental health problems. And I've had experiences with UFOs, and I've had a difficult time, I think, coming to terms and kind of admitting it to myself and to others. And I'm really excited and very thankful of the opportunity to be here today. And thank you so much. And thank you, Holly, for being here with me today as well. But yeah, I've had sightings myself, and I've had some of my family also have had sightings. My mother, my aunt, my grandmother, my sister, my nephew, my niece. And I think their experiences initially kind of gave some normalcy to it, and allowed me to be more open to it. But until I had my own experience, I didn't realize how powerful it was, and it is, and it's pulled me here to you and you.
Would you tell us your first experience?
So my first experience was I was about 26 years old. I was living in Portland, Maine, and I had an apartment with this great skylight. And I woke up one night and was looking at the stars, and honestly, I needed to use the ladies' room. And was just looking at the stars and saw some stars move in a way that didn't make any sense to me. And I really believe that I was seeing things and that there's no way that what I saw could have actually happened. And so I dismissed it, and I got up and I used the ladies' room and I came back to bed. But I really couldn't dismiss it because it was so unusual.
What was it like? What did you see? How did they move?
I was looking at the stars and I saw a star that was stationary move straight down and at a right angle and then disappear. And
Like a super fast speed, I assume.
very fast, because these were stars. These were very far away. They didn't have a blinking beacon light like an airplane would, and no stars or planes or anything in the sky I've ever known would ever move like that. And so it really moved me. And I went back and I looked at the stars again, and I again saw stars move in a way that, and I say it's a star because I assumed it was, but it wasn't. And the next day I went to work at the hospital and I told the people I worked with, and they were like, "Oh, that's weird." And, "Well, how about them Celtics?" You know? And I just couldn't understand why no one else was so moved by this like I was. And so that drew me in. And then I learned a little bit more about some families' stories that had similar, not just like mine, but similar sightings. And I started to have an interest in looking at the sky. And since then, I've had other experiences that have been much more powerful.
Tell us some of those.
And I also want to say that I am very much a scientifically based person. I want to be able to measure it. I want to prove it. I need to be able to break it down and have some explanation. And I think when I haven't been able to explain it, that's what pulled me in even more, because I feel I need to be able to explain that. So I've seen lights in the sky, driving in my car, lights moving in a way that it's not a shooting star, it's not a meteor, it's not an airplane, it's not a helicopter, it's not a hallucination. I've seen things over my lake. I live on a lake.
This is Maine, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let people know where you live. Is it close to Portland, Maine? Where is it at?
Yep. I live just outside of Portland, Wyndham, on a place called Highland Lake. But my most significant sighting has been, I have a home in Florida as well, and I fly quite a bit. And I've always flown. As a kid, I flew a fair amount as well. And I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I'm also very interested in aviation, and I've done a good amount of research. So I am familiar with what one would see in the sky. And I've had a couple of flights back from Florida to Maine where I've seen things, and I've actually caught some images with my phone, which has been extremely powerful.
Which I have seen some of those, so I know how powerful they are.
And so I did bring some photographs, and I'd like to pull them out and show you maybe at the end or whenever you'd like to see them. But I was flying. It was in August, and I saw something out my window. It flashed like metal, and it flashed at me. And I had my phone in my hand, and I was looking at photographs, and I take a lot of photographs of sunrises and sunsets. And I just pointed my camera out the window and I actually didn't know at the time, but I caught something. And I thought I didn't catch anything. And I was like, damn, I missed that. And then I got home and I looked at it. And I probably spent hundreds and hundreds of hours looking at it and stopping the film and trying to find a way to explain, because there's got to be another explanation, because I have to be able to explain it. And I cannot.
That scientific mind.
And believe me, I've done just about everything you can do with an iPhone to try to find another explanation, because it had to have been a reflection, or there's no way I got this on film. There's just no way. And if I did, everyone would want, I'd be, and I don't want anything from this, meaning for myself. But I do want people to know that it's okay and they shouldn't be afraid. And I think for a long time I was afraid about what I've seen in the sky, because it's hard to wrap your mind around the fact that you're seeing something that you can't explain it. There's no physics, there's no science, there's no other pictures, and no one else has seen this. And you can't explain it. And I think part of, my training and what I do for my job, and, everything has an explanation and cause and effect. And when you can't provide any of that, it's somewhat disturbing. It took quite a bit for me to actually come to this point, to come on this show with you, but I do trust you and Holly as well. And I do think there is a greater message here that I have received, and it is that we don't have to be afraid, and we don't have to try to explain it away. And it is what it is. And what it is good. And it is love. And it is kindness. And it is what's happening to me right now. And I feel it all over my body. And it is like I'm floating. And when I let it in, it's just the most wonderful thing, to not try to explain it away, to not try to say it's something else, not try to convince someone else, but just to let it be what it is. And
that's beautiful, the way you said it, with the love that you feel through your heart and your body. That's really beautiful. Why do you think, since a lot of people don't get this opportunity, why do you think you've been given this opportunity to see these things? What do you feel?
That's a great question. I've asked myself that a lot. Thinking of coming here today, I tried to ask myself that question. And I thought about who I am. And last night around 4 a.m., I wrote this little rant about why I became a nurse. And I wrote down some things that it wasn't because I wanted to pick up puke and wipe butts and deal with the hierarchy of the medical field. But it was really because I have this drive to help people. And I don't really understand it. But Leo, I'm going to help you. And Holly, I'm going to help you. And in some way, I think I'm helping a lot of other people today by being honest about all this. And that I think I was chosen to see these things because they're real and they're happening to me. And I'm a good person and I care about people. And I have a love that kind of comes out of me, and I don't really understand it very well, but it's good. And I think I know now that it somehow comes from them.
I like that. I like that a lot. Do you want to show us some of these pictures?
Which ones?
If, if we can actually see them, let's see what happens.
So this was my failed attempt at bringing something, and I'm not really sure with the lighting if we're going to be able to see, but these were still images that I took out my window at about 35,000 feet over the Atlantic Ocean in August 2021. And this orb,
It's hard.
it's very hard to see with the lighting, but
Yes.
it's I think I told you, Leo, when we first talked, that I'm sort of protective of these images, and I feel like I'm very much privileged to have had the opportunity to see these things, and I want to share them with people because I feel like there are other people that see them too.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't want people to be afraid.
So these are orbs like these are the stars, right? And then this is what happens to the stars as you're looking at them.
Well, this is one type
Yes.
of UFO or craft, or I don't know what you would want to call it, that I've seen. Some look like this, and they're an orb or a circle, and then some are more like a boomerang appearing type craft, and they move quite fast. I bet people have seen them many times, and they've thought, I just saw a flash of light. It was the sun. It was, who knows what they think it might have been. But I guess I would just encourage you to open your mind and think about these things that you might see that might look like a flash of light or just a visual aura of some sort, and they're probably not.
So those bottom lights there on the bottom
Mm-hmm.
on the left, those you saw, and then those flashed across the sky, I assume.
Yeah, they were moving pretty fast. All these images are stills of a video. I have multiple videos of images that, when you slow it down and zoom in, this is what you see.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Some of them are more triangular shaped.
Mm-hmm.
Some are more of a boomerang, and some are an orb. But I will say some look much more like an angel, and I'm not really sure.
Let's see. See if we can get that. Yes.
I'm not really sure.
Right in the middle of the picture.
Yeah, it's like a head with arms. And I think some of them may very well be a craft, and maybe I'm just choosing to see them as an angel of some sort. But
no, I think your heart is seeing through your heart space what's real.
Yeah.
The angel.
I really don't know what they are. and I don't really know why it's me that sees them, and I don't know why I've been able to capture them on film, but I take a lot of sunrise and sunset pictures, and now that I saw this stuff, now that I got the video, and it took me multiple sightings to come to this point, I've looked back at my photographs over the years, and they're in my pictures. They're there. Yeah. Here's one on my lake. And I don't know if you can see, but right smack dab in the middle is a UFO.
Put it up there again. Put it up there again.
I have a picture of a sunset that was probably one of the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen. And I look at it all the time. And it wasn't until I saw this things on the video in August, and I started looking back, and that sunset has 3 UFOs in it. And I don't know what it is, but I know it's not a bird. And I know it's not a plane, because what I do is I take multiple pictures, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and they're all time stamped. And I can look at the fact that they're reflecting the sun, that they're metallic, that they have a certain shape, that they weren't there the 3 seconds before, and then they're there.
I really appreciate what you're showing to our audience today. I mean, I appreciate it a lot because, a lot of people bring on these people who've had all these big experiences and they've written these books, but you're a, I was going to say normal. You are. You're a real person who's had these experiences, and I think that speaks volumes. It's obvious that you're not going to accept something that's not there. Look how hard you've worked at trying to prove what you saw was not what you thought you saw. And that itself says you've gone through that process to get to this place where you feel strongly that what you're seeing are these UFOs. And it sure seems to be, and I'm sure the people that are watching, they feel the same way.
Well, I can say one thing. Now that I've kind of allowed myself to accept this fact, I see them all the time. I saw one last night.
Oh, that's interesting. It's almost like they're saying, you believe, we're going to give you more views now.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not afraid anymore. I was afraid for a long time. I'm not really sure what the fear was, but I know the intent is good.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good. It makes me very happy when I think about all of this and I look at the pictures. I could have the worst day ever. And trust me, there are bad days. And I'll look at my video, or I'll look at my pictures or my stills I've taken, or I'll look at some of my sunrises and sunsets, and something happens, and it's magical. And
magical, that's the word.
I feel very blessed, and I feel very fortunate to have stumbled upon you, Leo, and you, Holly. But I don't think I stumbled at all. I think I was pulled. And it's like what pulls me to look at these pictures. It's what pulls me to look at the sky and look at the ocean. Look at the ocean.
Yeah.
I think today, Julie, is your coming out time. Seriously. I want to thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dr. Bean.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello, Leo.
We're probably not going to have enough time to get the whole story, so I'm hoping that you'll come back.
I would love to.
Okay. So tell our listeners and our viewers what your first experience was with UFOs, ETs,
Sure.
whatever your experience was.
Sure. Okay. So it's been going on since I was a little girl, and I just thought everybody had the experience, but nobody talked about it. And then growing up, small little town in Maine, and 600 people, I'm babysitting, and I hear them coming. I know that they're overhead. The townspeople, it's a little congested town right there in the center. They all came running to make sure I was okay. And I said, yes, but you saw them, right? You saw them, because no one talked about this prior. As Julie said, you don't talk about these things. And they said, yeah, we can't believe we saw them. There were 3 crafts. And so the next day, I done babysitting, all excited now that I've got a community that saw them with me and we can talk about it. I said, so you saw them? And my best friend said, yeah, but you know what? So today I've got to rake the lawn or whatever it was. And it's this forgetting that happens.
Mm.
And it's that is something that has been going on for a long time. It's a placating, forgetting type ability that is put on humans so that the fear doesn't spread. But it didn't deter me. I didn't forget that it happened. And they'd been following me most of my life anyways. Maine, I think, is pretty prolific, especially Highland Lake area. I lived in just outside of it in Raymond. We had sightings all the time there.
Really?
And anyways, I'm dating this man now. We're heading out on a date. We're kind of in the back roads from Farmington to Augusta. And this was back in the 70s. And I see them coming. It's one craft. I see them coming. And I'm like, it's telepathic. I know they can hear me and I can hear them. And it's kind of silly, but it felt like it's mom and dad. And I'm thinking, oh, they're going to embarrass me. Not on a date. The car did stop. The engine died. My boyfriend, who later became my husband, didn't know what was going on. And I'm just sitting there mortified, thinking that they're going to do something. Anyways, I told them to please go away, and they did. The car started, and we continued on. But they didn't stop there. And
your boyfriend was witness to this too.
he was
saw
right
it.
there.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, and he later became my husband, and then we
Yes.
had other witnesses after my son was just born, a newborn baby. Heard them coming, and I knew that they were going to go into. I know they wanted my son. There's a connection, family connection, just like Julie has experienced in her family.
Yeah.
And I knew they were coming, and I couldn't get out of bed. My husband couldn't get out of bed. We're both frantic. We're frozen. We're frozen in bed. And then we fall back to sleep. The next morning, even before my eyes are open, that adrenaline of trying to protect your baby, check your baby, my feet are on the floor, and I'm running into his room before my eyes are open, because it was still frantic there, and he was in his crib. He was there. But that has been going on for a while. My husband used to sleep with a bat under his side of the bed, because they were coming into the room. So you had asked me before, when we've talked about this, Lou, you'd asked me what they looked like. Do you want to know?
Yes, very much. Yes.
And so just like we have diversity here on Earth, there is diversity in the universe, obviously. And it would, as you had noted, it would be very egotistical of us, narcissistic of us, to think that we're the only entities out here. So
indeed,
mine are from Arcturia, and they have let me know that they're here to help, that they're filled with love. Arcturians are just so beautiful. So they're kind of this bluish tint. I've seen them. They don't visit me anymore. I haven't seen them. I miss them, because it was such unconditional, beautiful love that these words don't cut it. They're not even close to the description.
yeah,
But they're here for a reason, as Julie had noted. They're here for a reason, but they're not the only ones. And just because there are so many different types and diversity of perhaps the Pleiadians. And but there's also others, just like we have on Earth, as
Yes.
above, so below. It's been
Yes.
spoken. So we also know that there is an infiltration of entities that are working to create these problems here on Earth. That is their job. It's like the reptilians, and you can look up that race as well. And they're interbreeding. All the entities are interbreeding, trying to create. Trying to save the Earth. They're trying to save the planet, but just because we have those entities doesn't mean that we don't have some polarity going on as well. I don't know if you want to hear anything about that, but
well, I will. But today we're kind of limited to time. But what's interesting though is you both had this feeling of how wonderful it is in your hearts with these experiences.
Loving, kind, beautiful, benevolent, working, but there's universal laws. They can't just step in and fix what we humans have created. There are universal laws.
So were you ever afraid during the process? Were you afraid at times when it first began? Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, at first, no. And then as I got older, yes. Once I couldn't save my baby, but there was nothing to save my baby from, but it's that new parent feeling. Yeah, that's when the fear hit. And I didn't know what was going on quite so much, but then the fear dissipated. And the overall feeling of love and unconditional love and wisdom. This is an intellect far superior to ours. It's just amazing.
Yes.
Julie, how would you feel now that you've kind of come out, if you start having experiences with actually the beings themselves? How does that make you feel?
Well, so this is very hard to say as well, but I have already. So I have, and I've had a very difficult time kind of coming to terms or grips with that fact. But I have, and it's good. They're not meaning us any harm. And I think the message that I received from them was that they are us and we are them.
I like that.
And they love us. And like I said to you, Holly, it's almost like they want to wrap us in a blanket and hold us like a baby and love us and let us know that they're coming, whether you're ready for it or not.
Ready or not, here I come.
And I know with every fiber of my being.
See, now you surprised me. You surprised me there because you didn't tell me that ahead of time. That was a big surprise just now.
Yeah. So it's been a very difficult thing for me to come to grips with. And I'm still, I'm proud of myself today for being here, and I'm very proud of myself. This has been difficult for me. It's been years and years. And like Holly has said too, this has been going on since I was a child. And it's just taken a long time for me to bust out of the social mores and norms. And I think now that I'm an adult, I can say, you know what, I believe this. And you know what? I know it's not mainstream and people might think whatever. I don't care anymore. I really don't care because I know what I know.
Thank you very much. And will you two come back on our next show? A couple of weeks?
Sure.
Yeah.
Because we just started dipping in here. We got more to go.
It's just a little.
I'd love to share my video.
Oh.
Sure, of course.
I'd love to share some video.
Yes.
I'm not sure how we go about that, but I think we can figure it out with our.
Let's correspond in between now and the next show and see how we can do that.
That would be great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This was fun.
This was wonderful having you two on. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And Deborah, I'm gonna put you on just for a second here. You guys, I'll see you soon, which I'm really happy. Bye.
Hey there.
Wow, that was a beautiful experience. It really was.
Yes. And yeah, I know we have to end now.
Yeah,
I
we
know
do.
we're over time, but hopefully I'll be here at the next show and maybe I'll share. I had an experience when I was a little girl myself through my childhood. I never quite knew what it was, who these beings were that came to me all the time. So I think I need to explore it more and maybe talk about it a little more at some point.
Well, yeah, we'll have all three of you talking about this.
Well, yeah, mine is vague. Because I was a child and it was
Yeah.
like through most of my childhood, and I never quite knew who these beings were. But anyway, I know we have to end, but
We do.
it would
We
be interesting to talk about it sometime.
Okay, sounds good, Deb.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, everybody. See you next time.
See you next time. Not sure. I think next week or 2 weeks after that. I'm still working that out.
Because our family will be here.
We have family coming in.
And Leo's birthday.
Yes. Yes. Pisces.
Yes.
Love you
Bye,
all.
everybody.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.